Surprise! Chloe just dropped her sophomore album? Like, wait a minute, world, stop. How did this happen? Listen, as someone who was a fan of Ungodly Hour and the brilliance that is Chloe Bailey, the producer, the performer, and the vocalist, I'm super excited for this. But also, as someone who was very critical of her debut project, In Pieces, I'm a little nervous because there was no rollout, or was there? Oh, girl, we're gonna get into that and more because, honey, I've got thoughts. Hey, homegirl, homeboy, and homies. Welcome and welcome back to my corner of the internet, a corner where pop culture meets critical thought and medium ghetto antics. If this is your first time ever seeing my face, my name is Herbie Revolus. My pronouns are he, she, him, or hers, and herses. I guess that does mean that I wear pants, skirts, pearls, and purses. Listen, so if this video or this album announcement is coming as a shock to you, girl, same. Chloe just released her 16-track sophomore album, Trouble in Paradise, or TIP, as it's affectionately being called by me and whoever else will call it TIP. And the children are in a frenzy because, well, it's really good. So naturally, questions like, why was there no promotion? Or where was the rollout, girl? Or the most nefarious of them all, that Parkwood, or by extension, Beyonce, is trying to sabotage Chloe. Girl, child, we're gonna get into that and more, along with some of my thoughts on, or my initial thoughts on this album. But first, I want to introduce you to the first episode in this series I'm calling Herbie's Hot Takes. It's where we attempt to get into the tea in 15 minutes or less so I can get this shit off my chest. I feel like if you've been around for a while or even watched one or two videos, you know that I'm a cultural critic or a cultural analyst, which means that the vast majority of my videos are, you know, researched or analytical. But I am also just a lover of pop music and like to have a good time, so I wanted to create a space where we just do some quick in and out kikis. Okay, let's move on. Now on to the album! Chloe made an announcement last week, Friday, August 2nd, that she had a special announcement coming for us on Monday, August 5th. Well, on August 5th, she made the special announcement that, oh, by the way, I'm dropping an album. And honestly, I didn't end up seeing that announcement until maybe yesterday or 2 days ago. And I immediately ran to my Patreon and asked my Patreon fam, like, hey, have y'all seen this? Did y'all know that Chloe was dropping an album and it's coming out today? Like, what the literal... And the results were 50-50, right? 50% said, yeah, I know. She just announced it at the top of this week. And the other 50 were gagging. Gagging. Now, I'll be honest with you. I felt something in my cunt chakra. In my... chakra, girl. I felt something was coming from Chloe, right? It was the performances, the movies, all of these features, and honestly, the silence, right? I have a feeling that a part of this is, or a part of her intention was to do like a soft launch. But we're gonna get more into that in just a moment. Remind me that I have to talk about the soft launch. Put it in the chat. Put it in the comments. So first I want to start with the positive, right? Because my mama raised me right. And then we can get into some of the more difficult truths or negative opinions around this project and its rollout or alleged lack thereof. So let's say I stayed up last night and listened to the project really quickly. I did a quick run through. And what I'll say is growth. What I found was growth. To be specific, I listened to about a third of the album. So the album has 16 songs. I listened to about 5 songs. And I didn't go too deep into the project because I intend to do a live reaction over on the Patreon with my Patreon fam tonight. So I was like, girl, let me just save some things so that I can be shocked, surprised, gooped, and gagged. But what I did consume, girl, I was still shocked, surprised, gooped, and gagged. But here's what I'll say. As someone who, as I mentioned at the top of this video, was critical of Chloe Bailey's previous body of work and Pieces, I did a video entitled, I think this album, Chloe Bailey's debut album is disappointing or something to that effect. My biggest critique in that video, or just in life around that particular body of work, is that it didn't meet the standard or maybe the artistic ceiling that Chloe had set for herself in her previous work, right? Ungodly Hour, baby. Ungodly Hour was a moment. One of the albums that got me through the pandemic, along with what, Future Nostalgia, like really good body of work. In terms of the artistic adventurism that they took with that body of work, so good. Girl, beautiful gowns, great performances in their backyard, just really good. And I am pleased to say at this moment, after my initial listen to the album, that I feel that this is much better. Is it too early to say this is much better? I hear a distinct Chloe sound in this album. And that was another critique that I had in my In Pieces review, is that In Pieces album felt like it could have been anybody's album. There was nothing distinctive or singular about that particular project. And I'll be honest with you, I don't expect singularity or something unique or, distinct unto yourself from the vast majority of artists that I engage with, right? I hold people to that standard when they present to me that they can create something that is unique and that is innovative in their particular lane. And Chloe had already shown me that that's something that she can do, right? So most people, and I will give you that most people just give me run of the mill. Most people find a trend, they hop on it, they hop off, they put out a single and it burns out, they put out a one and it burns out, right? Most people aren't giving me a unique feel. Chloe is not most people. I don't know. She writes, she produces, she sings, and her vocal styling is so unique. In Pieces didn't live up to what she gave, what I know she could give, right? And because I know that she, does her own vocal production, her vocal stylings are her own creation, right? Because I know that the production is her own creation and decision, I'm gonna meet you at that standard. I love a bitch that takes it there. And one thing about Chloe, she has the capacity to take it there, and an entertainment and management company that encourages her to be creatively free in that way. But more on Parkwood in just a moment, because trust y'all who have been dragging Parkwood will be dealt with. I want to say additionally, after my first or initial listen to this project, that Chloe is vocally stronger on this album for sure. And Chloe would agree.
Honestly, I think my singing on this project, I have improved.
I also think that her sonic choices just match her vocal styling, right? It feels like, oh, this is your sweet spot. This makes sense to me a little bit more than the somberness of In Pieces. There's a thickness to her vocals on this project that I didn't really hear, or something that I have identified that I think that she's struggling with or has struggled with in the past, hence her over-reliance on her head voice. Now, I love and live for her vocal flips. It's what a lot of people online make fun of her for. It's like when she does that, right? Those moments where she's doing those flips. It's when she transitions from chest to head voice. But I personally perceive it to be more than just a stylistic choice and kind of a crutch, because I haven't seen a real level of trust or comfort in her being able to just belt out in her chest voice, even though I do think that she has a strong chest voice. And I think that that's fair because not only was In Pieces her debut project, but it was her first solo project, right? So she's used to relying on someone else or having someone else to rely on vocally in the studio with her. So learning to trust yourself can be difficult, especially after leaving a group with your sister where you're weak, she's strong, where you're strong, she may be weak, and you guys can support each other. I think that comfort can sometimes become a crutch, like I said, and I'm excited that I feel like she's realized where her voice needs to go and what makes most sense for her. That's what I feel. That's just my initial thoughts. I have so much more that I could say, from the songwriting to the production to the individual songs to the song compilation. If y'all want a full analysis, comment that down below and we will do a full review on the album. Comment full review and we'll do a full review. Now, with respect to all of the comments around where was the rollout, why is Parkwood letting her go, why are they sabotaging her, Beyonce's trying to sabotage her, Beyonce is jealous of Chloe, and I've seen it all. I've seen it all. I don't say anything, but I've seen it all. And we're gonna address that today. I actually need some wine for this one. I don't blame people, because how will you know the inner workings of the music industry and the distinction between the responsibilities and duties of a management company versus a record label? Who's responsible for what? There are many components to a rollout, and so the question becomes, who's responsible for this rollout, and is it Parkwood, right? And I think that's a great question. So let's make the clear distinction. Chloe is signed to Beyonce's management and entertainment company, Parkwood Entertainment. She is also signed to Columbia Records as her record label, who is responsible for her music distribution, okay? And really that music marketing and a lot of different ad placements, etc. The management company is responsible for marketing the artist, contract negotiations, making sure the brand of the artist stays intact. So even if she stopped doing music altogether, she could still be managed under Parkwood Entertainment if she went solely into film, or because it's a management company that is an umbrella company that manages many different sectors of entertainment, right? So let's start there. and then we'll move. So now I think the subsequent question becomes, what do you consider a rollout and who is responsible to finance that? I think a lot of people will argue that visuals are an integral part of a rollout, right? And so it is important to note that the record label is responsible for financing those music videos, because the record label will benefit from the royalties that come from those music videos. So when you look at a music video like Boy Bye, which I do believe was intended to be the lead single of this album, because even though she did release FYS before Boy Bye, FYS didn't get a music video. Boy Bye got a music video, and it was the stronger of the two songs. I thought then, and I still do think now, that Boy Bye is pure gold as a single. The music video was cute. I enjoyed it. The song itself, so good. Very reminiscent of 2010's pop. It was fun. It was freeing. Like I said, the music video was cute. And it had a specific like empowerment or empowerment adjacent, you know, message. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it immensely. But it didn't chart. It didn't chart on Billboard. I haven't been able to see its charting. As far as I know, up to the time of recording, Chloe has 4 songs that have charted as a solo artist, and Boy Bye is not one of them. So we could say that people weren't interested. We could say that people weren't buying the record. We could say that. And I think that that has some truth, maybe. But we could also, I just did a full video on the current landscape of pop music and women in pop music, and how Billboard is much more about industry politics and what the label, the record label, chooses to support, where they choose to distribute that, right? Did they choose to distribute that to various different radio stations? Did they choose to put it on playlisting and to various different DSPs playlisting and put ads? Like, did they choose to financially back it and give it the resources? No. And if I'm putting my business hat on, it doesn't make sense to do so. Her first project did what, 10,000 in the first week, and the singles that led up before that, the streets weren't living for them. Okay, let's just be real about it. Now let's talk about what has kept Chloe's name alive, because this is where I think the management company comes in. Features. People will say, okay, like, even if your record label isn't supporting you, like, reach out to other artists, get features, do small interviews, like, keep your name alive. Okay, well, since In Pieces, my good sis has been working. It's no shade. She's been working. And I have a list of her, I have her resume right in front of me, after her post In Pieces resume right in front of me. She's done a horror film, The Exorcism, which just came out last month. She was featured on Offset's hip hop song, Princess Cut, which was at the latter end of 2023. She did an alternative song with Childish Gambino. She was on a funk-infused record, Honey, which I loved. I loved Honey. Sweet like honey. I love that song. She hopped on an Afrobeats remix, Vision, by, I think this is pronounced King Madi. And she recently hopped on one of the biggest songs of the summer, or the hottest songs of the summer, Nasty, which is, you know, or the remix of Nasty with Tinashe. And so what I hear from that, or what I see from that, is she's kept her name alive. And one role of the management company and the record label is to establish these relationships with other artists and to get these collaborations going. But in my mind, because the record label was only fueled by money, and Chloe has talked numerous times about how Beyonce really is interested in her success, how she gives her the creative freedom to executive produce her projects, and basically everything she wants to do, Beyonce gives her the green light to do, and continues to put her in positions, or Parkwood more so, because Beyonce is not handling the daily affairs of Chloe's career. Let's be real about it, right? Beyonce is plotting a world tour for Cowboy Carter, and we will be present. Hello! And being a mother and running several different businesses, okay? But Parkwood is giving her the freedom and putting her in position to be in collaboration with these folks. If it was up to her record label, which is solely fueled by the coins from the music, which aren't really coming in as much. They aren't really coming in as much. She would be shelved. She's a black woman at that. Oh, she would have been shelved. It's her management company that's keeping her name alive. So that's one piece. But the second piece of her doing all these features is we get to experience Chloe in a myriad of ways, right? We get to experience her across various different records. So she is experimenting, or she's taken the time after In Pieces to experiment with what works best for her by hopping on these features, which I think is really smart. Additionally, she was recently at the Usher tribute, or was in the Usher tribute at the BET Awards, and was one of the standout performers, and she performed at Coachella, one of the biggest stages biggest festivals, music festivals in America, certainly, but also in the world, with an album that flopped commercially, that underperformed certainly commercially. She performed Boy Bye, and she performed some of her old music. I think that it is a misnomer to say that, oh, the record label or Parkwood is just letting her flop. I think that there's limited things that you can do when the record label may be saying things like, this is not a viable artist. Like, she's not someone who will give us a return on investment, because the number one word in the music industry is recoup. And we get the money back. If we're going to put this money into you and this rollout, can we get the money back? And my last thought on the rollout, T, is Chloe Bailey has done the thing of giving us, you know, all the lives, the small interviews at the radio stations, doing like the urban and the bigger GP interviews with like Jimmy Fallon and Jason Lee and Lotto's little radio show at the time, right? She's done that. And every time she speaks, y'all drag her. She's overly sexual. She's corny. You know, she doesn't really know. She's trying to be something that she's not. And no matter how many times she asserts, this is who I am, y'all refuse to believe it. And so I think that this speaks to, thank you for the girls who reminded me in the comments, to get back to why I said I think that she was doing a soft launch. Did you remind me? Girl, we only got 15 minutes or less. I'm trying, but if you forgot, just put I forgot. Just comment I forgot. It's okay if you forgot. I respect you if you just say you forgot. But anyway, this is why I feel like she's doing a soft launch, because when she attempted to do the overexposure, there was so much backlash and negativity. But also, I just don't think that it is beneficial. So there's that piece from the mental health perspective. But I also don't think it's just beneficial from a finance perspective, a time-consuming perspective, for her to go and do this press tour if the songs are not performing as well as maybe she'd hoped. And it puts her in a position to say, like, I did really no marketing for this project, right? It did these numbers, but I didn't really do any marketing. I kind of just dropped it. I only let my people know a week out, and this is what it is. And if people gravitate to the work, which this is a good body of work, then she can go ahead and do the visual component and building a story around this project. Because honestly, I think also too, and my final note on why this is a soft launch is, the first concept album of In Pieces was half-baked. What was the concept? That she was in pieces and she was heartbroken. So heartbreak was the concept. How do you illustrate that? The doll thing wasn't taken further enough. It wasn't dragged further enough. There wasn't a music video to create and to round out that experience. With the hair being red and I didn't get that communicated even through the interviews and the styling, right? I just didn't really get it. So right now, hopefully I did this in 15 minutes or less. I'm already feeling like, girl, it's probably gonna be 20 minutes. But I did my best. This is our first episode in the series. But I did my best. This is my first episode in this new series, Herbie's Hot Takes. Quick, in and out, Kiki, gotta go, okay? I'll talk to y'all later, but you know I will never let you go without saying this. I am in a constant state of practice, and so are you. You can never fail when you're in a constant state of practice. Remember that. Don't forget that. I love you so bad. My whole world.